Hello everyone, I'm Caroline Hughes with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by the Nice Future Initiative, which is an initiative of the Clean Energy Ministerial. Today's webinar will focus on communicating the role of nuclear energy in clean energy systems for young professionals in Africa. Before we begin, I'll quickly go over some of the webinar features. For audio, you have two options. You may either listen through your computer or over your telephone. If you choose to listen through your computer, please select the mic and speakers option in the audio pane. Doing so will eliminate the possibility of feedback and echo. If you choose to dial in by phone, please select the telephone option, and a box on the right side will display the telephone number and audio PIN you should use to dial in. If anyone is having technical difficulties with this webinar, please contact the GoToWebinars help desk at 1-888-259-3826 for assistance. If you would like to ask a question, we ask that you use the questions pane where you may type your question. If we do not get to your question during the webinar, we will direct your question to the appropriate party and contact you directly. The audio recording and presentations will be posted to the Nice Future Initiative website. Today's webinar agenda begins with a welcome from Carrie Edwards, followed by an introduction by Jeremy Gordon. We will then turn to our panelists who will share their experiences in the nuclear sector. Next, we will open discussion for questions from the audience. Finally, Edwin Chesori and Jeremiah Mbezor will discuss upcoming events and opportunities for engagement. I will now hand it over to Carrie to provide an introduction.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Edwards. I'm a senior advisor on a communications and outreach team in the U.S. Department of Energy Office of Nuclear Energy and one of the members of the Nice Future team. I'd like to warmly welcome everyone on behalf of the Nice Future Initiative lead countries team, including the United States, Canada, and Japan, and our participant countries, Argentina, Poland, Romania, Russia, UAE, and the United Kingdom. This Clean Energy Ministerial, or CEM, initiative is a little over 1 year old. It was launched in May of 2018 in Copenhagen in the presence of ministers. This is a big deal because it puts the initiative for the first time, it puts the spotlight at CEM on nuclear and clean energy systems. The Nice Future Initiative envisions a world in which innovative nuclear applications live flexibly to advance clean energy goals. Nuclear energy provides about a third of our emissions-free electricity, and it operates both cleanly and reliably 24/7. As energy demand around the world grows, nuclear energy and its exciting innovations will play a key role as global energy transitions toward a cleaner energy system landscape. These new systems have the potential to redraw the energy landscape while lifting up economies and those communities of the world with no energy access, and nowhere is this truer than in Africa. Which brings us to why we've all tuned in today to this webinar. The key to building a cleaner energy future is by engaging the best and brightest talent in the workforce of the future to see nuclear innovation succeed. The Nice Future Initiative is partnering with the Millennial Nuclear Caucus, International Youth Nuclear Congress to support young nuclear professionals. We are also partnering with Women in Nuclear Global to ensure that our workforce is gender diverse. Sharing our individual stories on the roles that nuclear technology and nuclear energy can play is vital to educating the world and expanding the nuclear energy workforce. On our panel today, I'm excited to have with me my co-moderator, Jeremy Gordon, who has developed an amazing and very interactive method to help young professionals in nuclear technology and clean energy technology industries share their stories. We've also invited several young professionals from Africa who will be sharing their thoughts and experiences on the roles that nuclear energy can play in enabling clean energy systems and the inspiring work that they're involved in within their respective countries. As we begin today's interactive meeting, it's important for everyone on the phone listening to really think about what Jeremy is saying and the process that he's going to take us through, because you can actually participate on your end as well. While we're going to hear and share and talk to our three panelists, we would love to have your ideas and suggestions, hear your story, and if you're willing to share and turn that in at the end of the webinar, we'd love to maybe have you on a future webinar. We welcome you to send any comments or your stories to jordan.cox@nrel.gov. If you like today's webinar, please spread the word. The link will be available shortly. And now I'd like to turn it over to my co-moderator, Jeremy, to kick things off.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Sorry for a small interruption. Yeah, my name's Jeremy Gordon. I'm a communication consultant with my own company, Fluent in Energy. I've been a communicator in the nuclear industry for about 15 years in different roles. I've always found it's a really, really interesting place because from the point of view within the nuclear industry, it feels really, really big. The companies that own, operate, and take responsibility for the nuclear plants are very big and very serious. The technology itself is heavy and expensive. Everyone is highly qualified and very serious and professional. The regulation is very broad and deep, and the systems for international governance and security are taken extremely seriously. Everything takes a really long time. And in addition to all that, the unseen component of nuclear power is equally big. For example, the billions of tons of fossil fuels and their pollution that nuclear power helps us to avoid. So the incredible resource efficiency of nuclear energy is one of the main reasons it was developed. It's one of nuclear power's unique advantages. In fact, one pellet of nuclear fuel as small as the end of your finger can give us the same energy as 1 ton of coal. But this key advantage of nuclear is also a kind of weakness.
The rest is history. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Princess. I personally love I love that story, and I really identify with the part where the last part you explained, where you when you first worked at Nexa, you didn't understand what the organization was doing or how it did it or why, and but at some point you decided to ask some people and to learn about it, and then you became an advocate for nuclear power, and it took you forward in your career. It reminds me about myself. I was a journalist, and I began to write about nuclear power, and at the start of it I wasn't particularly supportive of nuclear. I just thought it was an interesting subject, but at some point I changed my mind, and I became an advocate of it now and trying to support the industry. Do you think that helps you when you meet people in your work as a liaison officer to be able to say, like you, I didn't know anything about nuclear, but these certain facts made me interested in it, made me support it? Does that help you in your work?
It definitely does, Jeremy, because believe me that some people, when they talked, I remember that I still could not understand what they were trying to say. So yeah, so and I never gave up. I kept on trying. I kept on asking until I found those people who could literally sit down and explain the whole concept to me in a layman's language. So it did help me.
I love that. This is Carrie. Hi, Princess. How are you? I have a question. I have a thought and a question. I love your natural curiosity that led you to continue asking people questions, and then your determination to continue your work and to continue learning. I wonder, and now look at you, you're a wonderful role model for others who think it might be a little intimidating to accomplish the same thing. So that's very inspiring to our audience, I'm sure. I'm wondering if how you've been able to evolve the way that you talk about nuclear energy? What strategies, what communications are working for you based on your advancement?
Thanks for the question, Carrie. All right, no problem. Thank you. Carrie, I would say the strategies that work for me is first of all is to go to the people, and for the fact that I do not have a technical background, I'm sort of it's easy for me to relate to people who do not have a science background at all. So what works is the language that I use, number one, because I use the simple language, and I am able to explain to people the nuclear technology in such a manner that it does not intimidate them, because I am one of them. I feel like I'm part of them when I talk to them, and they also appreciate the fact that the person who's explaining this thing now is sort of is sounding like them. She speaks their language, and yeah, that works. And when I also go to schools, because I do a lot of expos in educational expos, and yeah, you find that those when you speak to learners, to kids at school, they actually understand and they pay attention, other than when somebody who has a lot of a technical background who would come and speak a technical language with them. Sometimes you can sense that there's no understanding at all, and they are just listening for the sake of listening. Whereas when I talk, I speak their language, and yeah, they pay attention, and I keep that.
And that's so important. People don't want to be lectured to. You know, they want somebody who understands where they're coming from, and you know, understands the fear, or understands their, you know, what maybe shapes some of their thinking and their attitude. And we have found in our research in the United States that with especially the young generation is that with education comes much greater acceptance and understanding. And as we talk about the amazing innovations in nuclear energy and the new technologies, they are perceived as safer, and it becomes a much easier thing for them to envision. So, but first, like you said, you have to be relatable to them and get where they're coming from. So that's a great story. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello. So since we got a little out of order here, we're going to try to go back to Abdul. Abdul, are you ready to present?
Tell me you still can't hear him.
We still can't hear you. Is your microphone on? Abdul, it looks like you're still muted. Could you please unmute so we can hear you?
Now you can hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. First, I'm grateful to be part of this webinar, sharing my journey in the nuclear industry and trying to learn a lot from experiences from other participants. Abdul Byamukama Ateenyi. I'm working with Atomic Energy Council, which is a government regulatory body for peaceful application of atomic energy in Uganda. I've been working as a radiation protection officer since 2012. Well, I can say my interest in the nuclear industry came naturally because from childhood throughout lower secondary, I was so much interested in science, which I had to select by choice for higher and university education. Mostly I was interested in the area that we call modern physics, which had all the applications of atomic energy in different fields, medical, industrial, and for electricity generation. It appeared quite simple to me and very interesting, but yet theoretical. That was the biggest challenge. So in my earlier profession as a teacher in secondary schools, I taught for some time, 3 years, but I got a little bit bored teaching that modern physics, because it was more theoretical, like I mentioned, and it became more monotonous, telling the kids similar things year in, year out. So my turning point came in 2011 when I got appointed to work with the regulatory body as radiation protection officer. So due to my normal routine as radiation protection officer, and the work involves moving out of the country and attend IA conferences and like, so I have acquired enormous experience and practically seeing what I used to feel theoretically. And now I feel more comfortable communicating nuclear and its roles to socio-economic development of my country. Now, during my master's studies in Korean between 2013 and 2015, I did my master's in nuclear and quantum engineering. I obtained a deeper understanding of the field and fell deep in love with nuclear till now, that to the extent that I feel everyone should feel the way I do, because of the beauty of nuclear being a stable energy source and carbon-free, among others. So my country, Uganda, currently has continued to express strong interest to develop nuclear power for electricity generation, and we are in phase 1 of the IA milestone approach. So from 2017, I was entrusted with the responsibility of heading nuclear power regulation, where my key role is providing advice to management and, to an extent, the NEPIO, on all the issues that relate to developing the regulatory infrastructure for nuclear power. Of course, this responsibility is quite big. We have a small team that I work with. So it came with some little bit of challenges. That is perception of nuclear power both by the internal and external audiences. The external, I mean my own staff of the regulatory body. So being aware of the role of each audience, my team and I developed internal training materials for our staff, and we have delivered a series of trainings. So right now I can say there is a change in behavior in terms of understanding the nuclear power and electricity generation among the staff. For the external audience, that's the public and other stakeholders, we have worked closely, very closely with the communications department to develop a proper
Hi, Abdul. We lost you there for a second. Are you still with us?
develop appropriate communication stakeholders and awareness program materials. So it was quite a challenge, but again, lovely, because it requires being steadfast, updated with latest issues and events taking place in the nuclear industry. So I always have spare extra hours to do some little bit of reading every day to equip myself with new information. So I also expect that by the end of this interaction here, my network for sharing information will have extended. Over time, I've learned the uniqueness of nuclear power, that despite the differences in geographical locations and cultures in the different countries, there is some bit of harmony, or what I would call standardization of safety requirements all over. And this makes it quite easier to share information and experiences. We don't need to reinvent the wheels over and over again. So my responsibility has involved moving in and out of the country, meeting experienced leaders in the nuclear industry, sharing experiences on the communication strategies. And I'm glad to have met one Jeremy here, whom I've learned a lot from since the time we met. and we borrow and bring that knowledge back home to improve on our communication activities for stakeholders. Lastly, the challenge that we still face currently is effective stakeholder communication, still a big challenge, given that we are in the initial stages of a nuclear power program. So this is where our emphasis lies, that is creating understanding of nuclear amongst the different stakeholders through underscoring the role of nuclear in the different sectors of the economy and what can go wrong if we do not have the requisite infrastructure in place. So we have already done the stakeholder mapping and output strategies for each stakeholder, such as career sessions in schools, sponsoring debates in universities and schools, holding colloquiums in universities, among others that we intend to roll out within this running financial year. So, feeling walking my nuclear journey, well, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Abdul. It's a very fascinating story, and I think I'm detecting a trend among our commentators here from Africa that when people first hear about nuclear energy in African communities, they think of the accidents that have happened, Chernobyl and Fukushima, and that's the first thing they think of. And so you sort of have to overcome that by talking about the benefits of nuclear and remind them the reasons why we're using this. Obviously, bad things can happen, and nuclear power comes with risks. But I think in most people's view in this community, the benefits outweigh those risks. But I wonder how that links, Abdul, to your experience as a teacher. Do you find that as a useful experience to enable you to explain the benefits to people in stakeholder relations, and also to get people inside the Ugandan nuclear community behind the project?
Yeah, I think is much more relevant, because as a teacher, like you mentioned, it used to be theoretical, just go read the textbooks, come back and teach. But being here and getting involved and reaching out to nuclear power plants, know how they look like, sharing experience with nuclear leaders, it gives me, first of all, the practical bit of it, talking from an informed point of view with the facts, but also sharing the experiences I've learned from the already experienced leaders. So when I go down there to communicate with the different stakeholders in schools and in communities, it becomes easier for me to explain not only what I've read about in the literature, but what I've also seen and felt.
It's Carrie, Abdul. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's amazing, and you're doing very important work there. I wonder, I have a question, because you are a teacher and I see that you have sort of held focus groups. You know, you've listened to the constructive compliments and criticisms from the public. I wonder if you're seeing any changes in attitude from the public in Uganda.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. First of all, before I read the public, there was a very negative perception within our own staff of the regulatory body. They didn't have a good understanding of nuclear energy and how it is regulated. So from a series of trainings that we conducted, we have so far conducted 4 training series. There is a change in behavior in terms of perception. And right now, every member of my staff, of my regulatory body, technical staff, can go out and freely talk about nuclear. As regard the public, we, as a regulatory body, we have not yet, because it's still the work of the NEPIO to do dissemination of the information. We have not yet reached there, but we are working closely with them. So apparently, when we are going to do our sensitization, because by law, we are not supposed to use the language which is promoting. So we sit together with them and then we discuss our training methodologies and approaches to see that we deliver the right information. But we are starting that one this financial year, and by the end of the year, we shall be able to carry out surveys to see the change in behavior amongst the public.
That's excellent,
That's terrific.
Abdul. Thank you.
Yes, that's excellent. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's move on to our next panelist, which is Raphael Chesori, who is an IAEA PhD fellow. He's from Kenya. He's currently studying in Poland. Are you on the line, Raphael?
Yes, Jerry. Thank you very much. Online.
It's great to have you. Please go ahead and let us know your story.
All right. Maybe I would like, first of all, to thank everyone who is online listening to this great discussion. Personally, I may say that my journey to science dates back to my primary school days because I've had a good maybe environment back home where I grew up. It was more of a rural setting, and I used to be a cowboy and also doing some small activities in the garden. But what actually inspired me to do science is first interaction with my science teacher in primary school, who was very good in explaining the science themes around life and what the nature can offer. Well, when I joined high school, I met also a team of science teachers who are very good, and especially the chemistry teacher. He was a very close friend of mine, and he was the deputy of the school, and we became very great friends. And I was a top performer in chemistry and most of the science subjects. And actually, I was elected to serve as science chairman, science club chairman, while in high school. And I think for the first time, we were able to have school participate in science congress competitions to the highest level. And we thank the team that played a critical role in setting such kind of foundation in the school. Well, after my high school, I was privileged to join University of Nairobi. And because of my passion and my desire to do chemistry, I joined in a program, industrial chemistry at the University of Nairobi. And it was during this time that I learned much about chemistry, advanced chemistry, and how chemistry could really transform lives through converting raw materials to finished products for consumer consumption, and kind of many applications of chemistry in the industry. And we were also able to team up as industrial chemistry students, and we came up with a student association, and I served as the first chairman at the University of Nairobi. And to date, this student association is doing great in terms of promoting chemistry and many other applications of science as far as student training education is concerned. So they have also established a lot of linkages with the industry and even training institutions outside Africa. We have students joining universities in US, in UK, in Europe in general, and they are doing great in terms of pursuing their studies. Well, after my undergraduate, I was privileged to get a university scholarship, and because of my desire for chemistry, I enrolled for a nuclear program. I mean, master's in nuclear science and technology with bias on radiochemistry. And it is during this time at the Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology that I learned of many opportunities about the EIA technical cooperation programs and how it is really transforming the landscape in Africa in terms of utilizing peaceful applications of nuclear science and technology. And it's during this time that I participated in a number of programs. More importantly, the first IEA event that I attended was really inspiring. I attended the School of Nuclear Knowledge Management, and at this point, this is where I learned much about how we can generate knowledge, disseminate knowledge, store knowledge, and more so try to retain the same knowledge for sustainability of the industry. And my desire even to play a role in nuclear field was really inspired. And another one that I participated was the IEA supported program, which is an initiative of the World Nuclear University. This was the 7th session of the program, and it was held at the University of Oxford. This was 2011, and participating in this event was mind-blowing because I was able to interact with many other professionals, young professionals from across the world. Actually, over 35 countries were represented with about 80 fellows participating in the program. And there was a lot of sharing experiences and aspirations, and I got greatly inspired. And I felt that going back to Kenya, it will be a good thing that we pursue a path that we can really contribute effectively to taking this conversation forward. I mean, the issues surrounding nuclear, because this was about a nuclear community and a community that is really taking care of the future, because bringing young people together and trying to see how best these young people can realize their full potential and be able to bring changes in their countries and in their own communities through peaceful application of nuclear science and technology. It was actually something that touched my heart, and it was a turnaround in my career aspirations. And to date, we are working in the networks of young professionals. And as I mentioned, we teamed up in 2013, and we came up with a Kenyan Young Generation Network. And in 2017, we were able to inaugurate our continental network, of course, with other very strong national networks in Africa, the South African Young Professionals Nuclear Society, the Nigerian Nuclear Young Generation, and others which are upcoming. And I'm glad to hear even the young professional from Uganda, Abdul. He has spoken very well on what they are doing. And as the Secretary General of AYGN, our role is actually just to create a platform where we are facilitating knowledge transfer. And we are doing this in tandem with the International Youth Nuclear Congress mandate, which is actually to just create and really inspire young people into nuclear and many other applications of their technology. And we are having this going forward through the support of the senior professionals and authorities and many other stakeholders that continue to hold our arms as young people. Perhaps I don't know whether it's possible you can go through the few slides I have for AYGN, just a brief overview of what AYGN is about and what we are doing, and more so about the event coming.
So I think we're running a little bit low on time, so we will probably make the slides available online with the webinar, if that's okay, Raphael?
No problem at all, but maybe just a minute, I can just summarize what is the upcoming event is all about. Well, the event in South Africa is hosted by the South African Young Professionals in Nuclear Society. It's the second summit, having hosted a very successful one in Nairobi in 2017. This summit really is bringing all the young professionals, senior professionals, and many other stakeholders in the nuclear to share and exchange knowledge. And more so for us, it is a platform that we want to continue growing the network and engaging the national governments and many other stakeholders in promoting peaceful application of science and technology in Africa. So we see a future of nuclear, especially in Africa, because many countries are having interest to address the issues of energies and many other challenges, even in health, in agriculture, environment, and many others. So this nice future initiative is really something that we as young professionals are embracing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raphael. And we do strongly support all participants that are interested to check out some of the resources that we will post on the website, as we think this is a great opportunity to get involved. And we are so excited to see the leadership that's taking place with you. I think for now, we'll go to the last two presenters who also will be discussing some of the upcoming events in Africa to support nuclear, Edwin Chesori and Jeremiah Mbazor. Edwin, are you on the line?
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, and thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much. In Africa, we say jambo. Jambo means how are you? And I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers for having us. And as I can say, my name is Edwin Chesori, not Chesori. Chesori is the person who have just talked after me. Both of us are from Kenya, and personally, I work with the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. That is in the nomenclature of the IAEA. It is the Nuclear Energy Program Implementation Organization. And I've been in the organization for the last 7 years, since we began in 2011, when we were a committee under the Ministry of Energy. And because of the need for affordable, reliable, safe energy, the government saw it fit that we can start the journey of introducing nuclear in our energy mix. And as my two other presenters have alluded to, their desire for sciences and technical things, it was because of nature. Me personally, I'm a mechanical engineer and also an energy practitioner. After understanding the role of engineers in solving the world problem, I believe that nuclear is one of the way that we can be able now to curb the issue of climate change. We can be able now to bring affordable electricity to the places where they don't have. And also the innovative nature of nuclear. As we talk right now, we are talking about the small modular reactors. And it's something that actually it is geared towards solving the major problem in Africa, and in particular the places where we don't have enough electricity. And say that in my journey in the nuclear industry, it started in 2011 when we were recruited to do issues of bringing nuclear in our energy mix. First of all, we were able now to develop the strategic plan. The strategic plan covered majorly the 19 infrastructure issues that are within the International Atomic Energy Agency framework, but also we added other 3 which were very, very important. Knowledge management, which actually we are doing right now. Number two, the issue of research and development, and external and internal environmental issues. And after that, we did our feasibility study, which is a case study for us to have national position, for you now to be able now to engage the policymakers, for them to understand what it takes for you to have nuclear in your energy mix, and also having policymakers and opinion shapers into the energy and particularly in the nuclear industry. For today, I do believe that, and one of the most important journey in my nuclear, it is the World Nuclear University. I was a fellow in 2014 in Oxford, Christchurch, which was a wonderful turning point in my career, and I really want to appreciate the World Nuclear Association and also the IAEA for sponsorship. And next about it is about now what we are doing in Africa, and especially us in Kenya. One of the activities that we are planning in the next coming month, that is in the month of October, it is what is called African Nuclear Business Platform. This is a platform first of a kind in Africa, which we want to bring the industry players together. We want to showcase that things can be done, so that it can be able now to have people from Africa and also industry to come together and showcase that having nuclear in Africa, it is possible and it can be done. So this is going to be hosted by my organization, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. It has been endorsed by the African Commission on Nuclear Energy, the AFCON, and it has international backing, because as we speak right now, so far we have almost 100 people coming, and we have sponsorship from various institutions which actually are looking at how we can move now to promote the nuclear industry in the Kenya. So I think the topics that are going to be covered is project management, financing, regulation, fuel management, public communication, which is very, very important. And I'll just come back to public communication just for a while. Small modular reactor, human resource, which is a big thing, and technology evaluation. So in public communication, one thing that actually we have been able now to do is engaging the media, because the people who are being so much depended upon in this era of digital, they are the media people. And in 2016, we're able now to bring the media people together. We train them so they can be able now to disseminate the right information to the public. And also in our organization, we do have a directorate that is purely engaged for publicity, that is called Publicity and Advocacy, just to advocate the issue of nuclear into the people that are going now to be heard. And lastly is about the issue of engaging the young students. We have engagement with the universities, engagement with the high schoolers, engagement with the people who are coming from the primary level of education, so that they can understand. And also we have spoken with our curricula Institute of Development, so that in our curricula, we want to introduce nuclear as early as possible, so that they can be able now to appreciate in that. So in concurrently with the Nuclear Africa Business Platform, we shall be having exhibition, and then at the end of it all, we want to say we are welcoming you all to this activity. You can register. There is a link there. And also, even as we shall be winding up our nuclear Africa Nuclear Business Platform, we shall be visiting a geothermal complex, because as we speak right now, Kenya is almost 80–90% renewable because of our geothermal. So we have one of the leading geothermal field called Olkaria, where at the end of the day, we shall have to visit there, and there will be the national park just next to it, because work all day and no play make Jack a dull boy. So at the end of the day, as engineers and as a nuclear specialist, at least we need to relax and have a view of what the nature is in the national parks. So thank you so much, and if there's any question, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. And a huge thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. It was so wonderful to hear all of your experiences, and thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you also to our webinar participants for bearing with us through some technical difficulties. The full webinar and all of the resources that we've described will be available on our website, nice-future.org/webinars. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you have any unanswered questions or comments for our panelists, please send them either to us or to the email addresses our panelists provided for the presentation, and we'll get back to you or connect you with the right people. Thanks again and have a great day.